So where are you now? Are you home now?
No, I'm at Death Wish. I'm at work.
Okay, so how is the weather? Is it like you live like north of the States, right?
Yeah, so we're in the Northeast. We're it's fall here now, so it's starting to get a little cooler. Um, it's probably anywhere between 40 and 70 degrees depending on the time of day. So,
Oh wow, yeah, I hear you, man. It's going to get very cold. I have the feeling. I had the chance to live in Canada for 5 years, so I
okay.
so I kind of know the type of weather you are dealing with.
Okay. Whereabouts in Canada?
Toronto.
Okay, yeah, so it's the same.
Yeah, it's pretty much the same, right?
Yeah,
Did,
yeah, exactly.
have you gotten? Oh, did you get used to the weather now?
Oh yeah, I mean, honestly, I look forward to it, and
Oh,
I,
really?
I I enjoy seasons. I know a lot of folks who live in other areas of the world aren't really used to such dramatic seasonal shifts, but I look forward to them. It mixes life up. It gives you a different look
Yeah.
at everything, and yeah, just it gives you a whole myriad of challenges. So yeah, I'm into it.
Yeah, I feel you, man. For me, it was hard to live there, and I don't know if you agree, but it makes you tougher, if that makes sense.
Yeah, there's part of that. At least when it comes to certain things, like for sure. But something that's hard outside is always hard outside, regardless of if it's freezing or if it's 100 degrees.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, I agree. I agree to a certain degree, but in my case, I of course prefer hot weather because I'm in Mexico, right? So I
right.
think Mexico City has perfect weather.
Okay.
But after coming back from Canada, I think I am a bit tougher because of the weather. I had
There
to
you go.
put up with a lot, man.
Yeah, it gave you a different
For
life experience for sure.
for sure. Is it is winter your favorite season to write music, lyrics, or it doesn't matter?
Doesn't really matter. It just kind of, that sort of thing is always happening in some capacity,
Mm,
depending on, what's going on in all of our lives. So we just try to make time when we can make time. Um, from a writing perspective, from a lyrical perspective, I always write when I feel, motivated to do so.
right.
That's kind of when I do it. I don't really look at it as something um, that's environmentally influenced per se.
Mm.
It just really depends on kind of like what's going on in the world, what's going on with my world internally, and how I if I feel the need to artistically process something.
Oh, interesting. Before we go deeper into like your creative process, I'm curious, do you still practice Muay Thai?
I don't. I follow the sport and I follow combat sports. That's pretty much been the only sport world I've ever been a fan of. So, um, yeah, that's pretty much something that I'm always paying attention to that world. And if it's not art or music, it's primarily the other thing that I focus on, so that's how I derive my entertainment. That's how I pay that's my thing. That's what I pay attention to. Like for example, other band members have different things that they're into, and
Right.
that's always been the sort of thing that I I tend to follow. Like, we've played actually, we're going to obviously Latin America. Like we were playing in Vegas a handful of years ago, and there was a card happening where Jose Aldo was fighting Matt Brown for the title
Oh,
at the time
wow.
in WEC, and I get to that. So I ran over to that because it was after our set because I had an extra 2.5 hours before I had to do anything.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
so that's like the sort of thing like. I don't know. I just it's a sport that I follow, so I find a lot of enjoyment in that and the ins and outs of it, and has a lot of parallels to punk rock and hardcore and heavy metal. And there's a lot of there's a lot of folks in both worlds that are fans of both
Yes.
worlds too, which is interesting.
Yes, fascinating. So you did train, right? Muay Thai
Yeah,
for a bit.
for a long time I did, and then I had my first son and got quite busy with that, and my focus basically went to that,
Right.
and then since then I have two boys, and they they take a lot of time and energy, and um, so that's like it's like just one of the things that I just sort of I let go of, and also like you start aging out of certain aspects of it too, um,
Yes.
and so at the time, um, it kind of felt like it was a good time to stop, and I had like my the gym that I was affiliated with, changed owners, stuff like that. So it made it kind of difficult to get back in there and do things. And so I had all these sort of like life things coming together all at once. And I was like, you know what? I'll take a break. So I still mess around here and there.
Right.
But yeah, but nothing nothing like I used to, where I would go, I'd be there 5 days a week,
Oh,
6 days a
wow.
week, depending, for years.
Oh, wow. Interesting. So you went full on Muay Thai.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
It was basically that, and yeah, that, and like a little jujitsu, a little
Oh,
wrestling
wow.
and grappling, but I have my knees are shot and have been shot for a long time from mainly performing music, among other things. Um, and so I had to sort of adjust my sort of athletic game to fit that world a bit. Um, Yeah, I don't know. It was something I really enjoyed. I still enjoy it. I love it. But yeah, it's just not a reality of my daily life right now. Who knows? Maybe one day I'll get back into it all the time, but we'll
Yeah,
see.
for sure, man. That would be really cool to go back and start training, right? You have to prepare for when we become older men. We have to have like strong muscles and shit.
Yeah,
So we don't
absolutely.
break
Yeah,
easily.
yeah, absolutely. And at my peak of doing it all the time, I was also a licensed judge, mixed martial arts judge in the state of Massachusetts as well, working for the athletic commission here. Um, and that was a pretty cool experience as well. And I keep thinking I might go back to that, and do that on the weekends as something just to do aside from family and music,
Yeah.
and art. I may. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. That would be cool too. Did you go on full on battles when sparring, or did you take it easy?
It depends. I've never been a fan of this sort of bullying style that some folks will have. Typically, younger people will come in, or inexperienced people will come in and kind of have uh, a certain sort of demeanor and approach to that sport, and just kind of think that they need to be, hyper aggressive.
Right.
And oftentimes, if I saw stuff like that, and I saw, younger folks and more inexperienced folks getting hurt, that would kind of fire me up to actually go a little harder with somebody who was hurting other people. Um, but yeah, you never really go as hard as you can, even when we were uh, sort of getting people ready for regional fights and things like that.
Right.
Um, yeah, in the regional circuits for MMA and kickboxing, Muay Thai and stuff. You never go too hard, because you don't want, you're always injured anyway. Just from being there and just being, participating, because it's a combat sport is what it is.
Exactly.
Um, but you never want to, inherently hurt somebody who's a teammate in some capacity.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Plus, you don't want to get hurt like someone hurting you. I mean, it's a
Mhm.
tough sport getting like an elbow or here
Oh
knuckle.
yeah, I mean, I got injured right before we left for a tour.
Oh
I
shit.
think I think it was like 2011 or 12. I think it was 12, and I was sparring with a new guy, and just getting in a little bit more time before we left for a tour. I think I was maybe like 2 days out, 3 days out from leaving for the tour, and I front kicked him, I teethed him, because he
Oh,
was being a little aggressive, and I just wanted to move him back. and he was a little wild with his blocking and a little open, and I kicked his elbow and I broke my toe, and my toe was just hanging off, like just like hanging down with like no support at all, just gone. And it was miserable. And I finished that round. I had another round, and it was like it was a bit, a bit numb. You have your adrenaline kick in, so you don't really feel it too much at first.
Right.
And then I went home, went to my wife. I'm like, I think I messed up my toe. And she's like, "Did you? Why do you say that?" And she's like, "You're walking fine." I'm like, "I think I'm fine, but I gotta check." I took off my shoe, my sock, and my toe is just like hanging the other way, and it's like a clean break.
Oh,
So I didn't, I went to the ER just to do it, and there I was like, "Hey, so I need to be able to do something athletic." I got a fly attacking me. Hold on, get it. Oh, it's almost gone. There it goes. Um, so the toe's hanging there, and the ER techs, I just kind of asked him like, "Is there anything I know that clearly it's broken, and and unfortunately I need to be able to do this stuff and travel and whatnot." He's like, "Well, good luck with that," you
oh
know.
shit.
So I just he's like, where you can't really do much for it, you
Right.
immobilize it or whatever. So I taped it to it was my second toe, so the equivalent of my index finger, right? It's next to my big toe. And I just taped it to my big toe, um, to at least give it some sort of strength. And it was miserable. So and still to this day, after that tour was vicious. Like every show hurt more
Yeah, I
than
bet.
just like a just a just not like a not the kind of like a tolerable pain, but enough to really, annoy you. Um, and yeah, I still my toe's crooked to this day because of it. My toe follows the other one completely, like a puzzle piece, and away
Oh
from the other
wow.
ones from that break. But it healed. Took a wicked long time, but it healed. And we got through the tour, and you know, it is what it is.
Yeah, oh wow, man. That's kind of like a scary thing, but I mean, I appreciate you doing and pulling through the pain because I kind of I mean, I haven't had like a broken toe like that, but I've been almost there and it does suck a lot. I
Yeah,
used to train
yeah,
jiu-jitsu.
absolutely. Okay,
So,
yeah. So if you're rolling all the time, you're always dealing with a basic
yeah.
injury here or there. Something's always pulled funny.
Yeah,
And
for sure.
you just kind of deal with it all the time. And your tolerance goes up for that. As a band, we very rarely cancel anything. So, um, yeah, so I wasn't about to cancel it if I could avoid it and still play.
Right.
And we pulled through.
Wow, I'm happy that you pulled through that, man, because as a fan, you always want to see your band play, right? And sometimes as fans, we don't understand what bands go through when they cancel the show. It's kind of
Absolutely.
selfish from us, to be honest.
Well, I think all of us look at artists that way, right? When we're in that kind of position, because we're just seeing a snapshot of who they are at that specific moment of time performing, and and sharing their music with you. We don't know anything else that's going on in their lives, and we don't necessarily need to either. But yeah, it's a complicated thing for sure, because you don't know what somebody's going through physically, psychologically. Sometimes it'll help them. Sometimes somebody's sort of challenges physical or psychological, will allow them to actually perform better because they'll just play angry, or
Yes.
have a point to play, and they just kind of go for it. And other times it can be a distraction. Uh, but more often than not, we pull through those things. But yeah, I mean, I've been on tour with folks that have been going through some really significant stuff, off stage on a tour, and they still manage to get up there and be able to perform and do their thing. And it's just good to have some um, uh, empathy for all people, and just know that they're people too up there, even though sometimes they might look a little bit different than, you're the average concert goer.
Yeah, right on. I totally agree with that. I mean, because you never know what's going on through someone else's head or feelings or even something
Mhm.
physical, right?
Yeah, you never know. Yeah, sometimes it can just be worn down and sick. I mean, honestly, that's what most bands are dealing with on a daily basis when they're out there traveling. If one person gets a flu or something, everyone gets it, and then on an entire tour package within, a few days.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, and then so like it's a whole slog, and you're trying to travel, and your immune system's already sort of taxed from not really sleeping or eating well. And then you're in these show environments, which, are hot and sweaty. So they're kind of bacteria factories sometimes.
Yeah.
And then, and sometimes your immune system just isn't ready for it. Sometimes it is. But yeah, it's a whole thing.
Yeah, I've heard some stories about that. So let me ask you this. You've been doing the music thing for a long time, over 30 years, right?
Yep.
So what has been the most, I guess, beautiful thing or teaching or gift that music has given you?
It's given me purpose. It's given me a life. It's allowed me to have a platform to express myself artistically, but it's also allowed me to help others be heard as well, and experienced as musicians and artists. That's been something that has been a part of my life for a really long time as well. And I just try to, I guess, do positive things within this community, and it's given me that platform. Because to me, like the punk rock world has always sort of bucked against the this society and trends, and has been a place that's been a little more open-minded and a little bit more inclusive, and just uh just a little bit more unfiltered than the rest of the world. So uh, I've always really appreciated that, and always want to, celebrate it and champion it. And for those that are interested in it, try to, help propel, other artists as well.
Right, right. It's all about, yeah, community. I think you got that right, because at the end of the day, I mean, I'm a bit of a hippie, a close
Sure.
knit hippie. So I do believe that we're all connected, right? And I think
Mhm.
music is one of the ways that you get to feel and sense that, especially when you are on stage, right?
Sure, absolutely. That's when you can, connect with folks, musicians and artists, they give you their songs, they give you their albums, they give you these things that are, these really precious creations that are really important, and special to them. And it's also like it also allows you to peer into that aspect that's the most vulnerable, aspect of who they are as people. That's why they're making that art and music in the first place. And so you're engaging with that. And yeah, it's just a beautiful thing.
Oh, for
Um,
sure. No, sorry, I interrupted.
oh no, I mean, in relating to what you said about, sort of, being like a more like, hippie leaning person. I see very little difference, between the two cultures. They're alternative music cultures that have subcultures sort of built into them. Just one happens to, have a little bit more of a intensity about it, or an aggressiveness about it, whereas the other one sort of gets lost in thought and musical exploration a little more. But they're not really that much different than one another.
Yeah, I agree. Would you consider yourself a spiritual person?
Uh, I don't, no, not necessarily spiritual, but I'm definitely, somebody who thinks on subjects a lot, and including spirituality and things like that. But I don't hitch my wagon to one specific thing.
All right. But for example, do you like meditate and stuff like that?
Sometimes I not necessarily like in the more traditional sense. Like I don't but I do lose myself in thought and I give myself sort of time to do that and to process things in silence, which essentially is meditation. I'm not getting into mantras and things like that, but
Mm.
I do a fair amount of deeper intellectual thought on subjects. I think it's important to do so.
Oh, for sure, man. That's how you keep yourself healthy, especially your mind, right? I don't
Sure.
know. I don't know if you have like some sort of diary. I know diary sounds a bit cheesy, but like
Well,
if you
for
have.
me, it's just writing, right? So I don't really look at it as a diary or a journal of any kind, but it's where I put those ideas, and those things are what eventually turn into song in some capacity for
Mm.
me.
So, for example, when you have like a thought in your mind that doesn't go away, and you keep like repeating it about something that's going on in your life, do you
Mhm.
sit down and you're like, okay, maybe I can get a song out of this, or you just write it down as
Yeah,
some sort of.
it's not that um it's there's always like a some sort of catalyst for inspiration, right? So there's something that happens, whether positive or negative, that makes me want to write, makes me want to do something. But I don't really think about it in terms um, of a specific song right away or anything like that. It takes a little bit of time to get there. It might just be a few fragmented sort of prose sort of ideas, like poetic ideas, and reflecting on whatever subject I'm writing, thinking about at the time. And then I just kind of move on with my day. And then if
Okay.
it and then if it hits me again at some other point, then I revisit it once again. Um, and it's funny. It's like I've never really given myself like I'm gonna take an hour to only make art or only make music, or I'm gonna take the entire day and only sit with this one specific thing. Um, I might sit within the project. I might sit within an album as we're making it, but I won't do it in the early stages of that, right now, like for example, like Converge has been working on music for a couple of years now. And so when I'm working on that material, um, I still don't I still don't go and like immerse myself in every song right away that we were working on. I wait, and I have my sort of framework of musical and lyrical ideas that I'll bring to the table. But I just keep adding to that. And then
Right.
once we get to like a point where things are becoming a little more structured, that's when I start looking at things in a more detailed way and start,
Interesting.
putting those ideas together.
Right. So,
Friends,
yeah.
the meeting finish in 5 minutes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So before I let you go, Jacob,
Mhm.
I mean, I do want to ask you this. So when you
Yeah.
receive like a riff or a song idea,
Mhm.
how do you choose what lyric you use in that specific song?
It's a great question. Usually I will, well, if it's a song that I don't write the riff of, right? So say like Kurt has a fully formed idea. Usually I will get it. You always get an immediate idea, an immediate sort of direction you want to go. But I also try to be respectful of whoever I'm working with within the band. So like if it's a Converge song and we're all kind of maybe Nate brought this one to the table and I want to know really where he feels vocals should fit. And if
Mm,
there's any sort of ideas or sort of like creative ideas that he wanted me to implement in there. And I sort of try to get an idea uh, of how loose or how specific those folks are. Because oftentimes, especially with Converge songs, things are they're not complicated, but they're complicated. There might be a simple riff, but we agonize ourselves over that simple riff and trying to, and making sure it's exactly what we want. So that's when I get feedback from the folks, from the guys, and then I start structuring things at that point. And usually I already have a mass of material that I'm working for, and I'll be like, oh, that's, this line from that I wrote a month ago or 2 months ago really works well here. Let me build that's the foundation. Let me build around that and try to, flesh out the idea in its entirety.
Wow. Well, I mean, I can just imagine because I can imagine that you have a lot of like notes and lyrics. So just like it's hard for me to process like how does he choose what lyrics and everything, right? It's
Yeah, you just have to start somewhere, and just start putting things together. And sometimes they work right away, and sometimes they don't, and they take time to sort of percolate and mature, and they become something final.
wow, fascinating. Well, Jacob, it's been a pleasure. I have a lot of questions to ask, but we have a
Is it good?
limited
Well,
time.
no problem. We'll connect again in the future. We're stoked to be coming to Latin America. And we did Mexico City, but we didn't do a proper show last time. We did a festival, so we want to actually play to a proper, hardcore and punk audience and metal audience like that. That's not really a festival situation. So we're
Yeah.
really excited to be able to play proper shows, in all of Latin America. So
Yeah, we are very looking forward to. I mean, I have the chance to see you live a couple of times before, so I know what to expect. So I'm looking forward to see you live. And yes, definitely, if we can reconnect a few months later to do part two, I would really appreciate, buddy.
yeah, absolutely. Great sweatshirt, by the way.
Oh,
People don't talk
thanks.
about Helmet enough.
No, and I love
Yeah.
them. I used to tour with them.
Okay, cool.
I did merch for them, and those guys are the best.
Such a cool band.
Yes, definitely. Well, Jacob, thank you so much again, friend. Have
All
a
right, man. Well,
great
thank
day.
you.
You're very
Okay, thank
welcome.
you, Joel. Take care of yourself. Thank
You
you.
too. Bye bye.
Okay, bye.